إهدنا صراط مستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Indeed, the omnipotent, omnipresent, we ask for your mercy, guidance, and patience. Amen.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ibrahim Ajenlate. At the appropriate time, these would be introduced to the gathering. My name is Isaac Jamina, coordinator at the PIAC Secretariat. It is my pleasure to play the role of moderator for the launch of the 2024 report of the Public Interest and Accountability Committee on the management and use of petroleum revenues in Ghana. At this point, I would like to introduce members of the Public Interest and Accountability Committee who are here to the gathering. We have here representing the these Christian groups, Constantine K.M. Kujeji, who is also the chair of the committee. Yes, thank you. We have Frida Stephanie Frempong, member representing the Trades Union Congress. We have Dr. Ibrahim Ajenlate, who just prayed, member representing Muslim groups on the committee. We have representing the Ghana Journalists Association, Nana Kwekudei, also known as Mr. Ransford Tete. We have Ms. Sena Dake, member representing the Institute of Chartered Accountants. All right. We have also supporting the launch this morning some past members that we would like to introduce. All the way from the Pioneer Group, we have Haj Bakbo Ado. Haj represented Muslim groups and served on the committee from 2011 to 2014. Yes. I also see here Mr. Noble Waja. So Noble Waja, let's see you please up. So Noble Waja served on PIAC for 3 years on the ticket of civil society organizations and community-based organizations and became the chair of the committee in 2020. Yes, that's Mr. Noble Waja. At the appropriate time, the others will be introduced to us. So let me acknowledge amongst us this morning Ghana National Gas Limited Company, the team from Ghana Gas. Let's see you up, please, and acknowledge you. Thank you very much for coming. I see Talo Ghana Limited, TGL. Let's see you up. Thank you very much. I see Cosmos. Cosmos, thank you. Thank you very much. I see the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, GNPC. Thank you very much, Team GNPC. I see Shraj, the rep from Shraj. Please, let's you up. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. University of Ghana, Department of Geography, University of Ghana. Thank you very much for coming. GNPC Exploco. Let's see you up. Thank you very much. Other stakeholders here gathered. GIZ. Thank you very much for coming. This is a very, very supportive institution to the cause of PIAC. I'm sure on another day we will tell the history, but GIZ continues to be a big support to the work of PIAC. The Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA. Thank you very much, sir, for coming. ENI, thank you. Africa Center for Energy Policy. Thank you very much. The Ministry of Finance, Gate, Okay, thank you very much, Ministry of Finance, because we would recognize Gate in a different category. All right, Yoko. Yoko, thank you for coming, Yoko. Now we have some Bank of Ghana reps. Let's see you are, please. BOG. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We have the District Assembly Common Fund. Thank you very much, DACF. Now we have also here some member institutions of PIAC, institutions that make up the Public Interest and Accountability Committee. And we have here Trades Union Congress, TUC, some reps from TUC. Thank you, TUC. Thank you very much. Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. We have the Queen Mothers Association. Thank you very much. Thank you, our mothers, for honoring our invitation this morning. Then once again, Gate. Let's recognize Gate. That's why I said Gate would come later, because Gate is a member institution, is a constituent of PIAC. We have the Catholic Bishops Conference also present. Thank you very much. The current chair happens to come from the Catholic Bishops Conference, so it's appropriate that we recognize them again, having given to us the one who is the chair now. We have the GCBC, that's the GCBC. That's it. Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, so I think we can proceed at the appropriate time. We'll recognize every one of us. Let's recognize our media partners. Our media partners. Ghana News Agency, GNA, busily working, thank you. Daily Guide, thank you. Novan Reports, Novan, thank you. GBC Radio, thank you. Business 24, thank you. We have Freelance, okay, thank you. And then, is it SUN or UN? It's not very clear the way I see it. Pardon me if I didn't mention it the way you would have loved it. Okay, Federation of Muslim Councils, that's another member institution of PIAC. Okay, thank you very much for coming. You came with Haj Bakwado. We see him as one of us, so we would not. All right, the Ghana Audit Service. The Ghana Audit Service, thank you very, very much. Ghana Audit Service. All right, so the program will proceed, and at this point, I would like to invite the chair of the Public Affairs and Communications Subcommittee of PIAC, Nana Kwekude, to bring PIAC's welcome remarks. Shall we please welcome him with a clap?
Thank you, moderator. I thought you had done my job for me. You have virtually welcomed everybody to this meeting. But the formality demands that somebody does that on behalf of PIAC. So I'm here. I will do that on behalf of PIAC. Notwithstanding the fact that you have virtually welcomed everybody here. So you are all welcome. Good morning to everybody. On behalf of the members and staff of PIAC, I warmly welcome all stakeholders to the launch of the 2024 annual report on the management and use of petroleum revenues in Ghana. Distinguished guests, the Petroleum Revenue Management Act 2011, Act 815, as amended, requires PIAC to publish a semi-annual and an annual report on the management and use of petroleum revenues in Ghana every year. In accordance with its mandate, PIAC has completed work on the 2024 annual report, and it is here this morning to launch the report and make the report available to the public for information. PIAC requested data from its stakeholders, received responses, analyzed the data provided, raised more issues for clarification, and has completed the report. Having completed the report, the committee deems it appropriate to invite the very stakeholders to adopt the report. And this is why we are gathered here this morning. On behalf of the chair, members, and staff of PIAC, I want once again to warmly welcome you to the launch of the 2024 PIAC annual report. I want to conclude by thanking you for responding to our invitation and look forward to positive outcomes from our engagement this morning. Thank you for enduring me. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we can do another of the clap for Nana. Thank you. Before we move on to the next item on the program, let me recognize the Petroleum Commission, the regulator of the industry. Thank you very much for coming. PIAC appreciates your presence and your participation in this engagement. I also see here the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency. Thank you very much. Okay. The Energy Commission. Energy Commission, thank you. Energy Commission. GACC, Ghana Anti-Corruption. Thank you. Good Governance Africa, GGA. Thank you very much, Sapon. The National Enquirer. It must be a media house. Thank you very much. So we would want to proceed, and let me also acknowledge the Christian Council of Ghana. The Christian Council of Ghana. Thank you. So, to introduce the one to chair this morning's program is my colleague at the Secretariat, the Senior Communications Officer of the PIAC Secretariat. Let me invite Ms. Jessica Echampon to introduce the chair for this morning's launch to us.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So I have a simple task this morning to introduce our chair. So I'll just go ahead to read his profile, after which I would invite him to give his opening remarks. So our chair this morning is a product of Prempeh College, Kumasi, and the Business School of the University of Ghana, Legon. He has been a chartered management accountant since 1982 and is also a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants, Ghana. Career. His working career began in the Ghana Armed Forces as a paymaster in 1975, serving with the colors for 12 years and retired with the rank of Major in 1987. He then joined the Ghana Cocoa Board in 1988 and worked there for 16 years, 1994 till 2003. During his tenure in this office, he instituted, among other innovations, the syndicated loan financing scheme, by which Cocoa Board obtained funds from overseas banks to finance the purchase of the cocoa crop. Upon leaving the service of Cocoa Board, he was appointed Commissioner of Internal Revenue Service, IRS, now Domestic Tax Revenue Division of the GRA, in 2006. At the GRA, he became actively involved in the establishment of the African Tax Administration Forum, ATAF, which is intended to assist tax administrators on the continent of Africa to adopt best practices in executing their mandates. In 2012, he became the first chairman of the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC, serving in that capacity until 2016. He also served as the chairman of the Edukum Town Council within the Ekwapim North District Assembly from 2003 to 2006. He has also served on several boards and councils, including Produce Buying Company, PBC, Unique Trust Financial Services, Dunwell Insurance, Axon Information Systems. He was also the chairman of the board of Ghana Supply Limited, CEO of Allied Cocoa Products Limited, member of council of the Methodist University College. He is also part of the council of the Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana. That was from 2008 to 2015. And he is currently a member of the governing council of the University of Ghana, Legon. I think our chair deserves a round of applause at this time. Thank you. So between 2006 and 2012, he assumed the role of General Director, Board of Finance and Development of the Church, and has been the chairman of the Finance Advisory Team of the Methodist Church and a member of the Board of Registered Trustees of the Church until August 2014. Our chairman this morning was the principal proponent of the Methodist Development Fund during his tenure as General Director, Board of Finance and Development under the leadership of Most Reverend Dr. Robert Abuajimensa as the presiding bishop. As chairman of the Finance Advisory Team, he spearheaded the revolution to move from the assessment system of fund mobilization to the present revenue sharing system, which enables his church to pay the remuneration of all ordained ministers through the connection. He's a widower with 5 children who he would want us to mention. So they are Reginald, Leonard, Pamela, Ralph, and Audrey, and is also a grandpa to 5 young children. In the days of his youth, our chairman was not only a keen sportsman, but was also a sports administrator. He played hockey to regional level and has medals to show for his prowess in table tennis. Oh, if you are clapping, you can do it better for him. He continued to play squash rackets until injury to his back forced him into retirement in 2004. Between 1988 and 1993, he was a member of the management committee of Accra Hearts of Oak, going on to become interim chair of the Greater Accra Football Association in 2001 and 2002. Ladies and gentlemen, pleasure is mine to invite Major Retired Daniel Soa Ablokwaku, our chair for this morning. Please let's keep the applause going until he comes here. He's still not here. Please let's keep clapping. Chairman, you're welcome.
The mic's on too now. Okay. Thank you very much, Jessica. When my past is read like that, it makes my head swell. Fortunately, I'm wearing a hat, so it's kept the pressure a little bit low. Thank you very much for those kind words. Good morning to you all, ladies and gentlemen, very beautifully assembled this morning. The chairman of PIAC, Public Interest and Accountability Committee, members of the committee who are here, both past and current, representatives of PIAC member institutions, distinguished officials of PIAC, stakeholder institutions, friends from the media, and PIAC Secretariat staff, ladies and gentlemen. This morning, it is with a deep sense of nostalgia that I stand before you. And I'm delighted to be here, to be part of this ceremony again. It took my mind back to the first launch of the PIAC report during my time. Coming to PIAC meeting, and I look back at the humble beginnings of this committee in the early years of 2011, when I was privileged to serve as the first chairman and first representative of the Institute of Chartered Accountants. The fact that we are here for the launch of a PIAC report today means that PIAC, well, if you call it experiment, you'll not be wrong. The PIAC experiment did not die, and it is still going strong. Defying all odds, such as absence of financial provision in the early days, there was no budget from the state, there was no secretariat. We had to move from place to squatting on other people's offices in those days. And there was a lot of public skepticism. Will this organization survive? But through all that, thanks be to God, we survived. And today we are launching another report for the year 2024. And I think PIAC has done well, so they deserve an applause. Thank you very much. The committee has grown from strength to strength and continues to fulfill its mandate as provided for under the PRMA, Petroleum Revenue Management Act of 2011, Act 815. As many of you may be aware, the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, established by the PRMA Act, is an additional public oversight body with the mandate of ensuring transparency and accountability in the management and use of petroleum revenues that accrue to the state during the course of the year. PIAC is required by the Act to publish a semi-annual report covering the period January to June. This is published usually or is required to be published by the 15th of September, and an annual report covering the period of the entire year, January to December, by the 15th of March. It is in fulfillment of this mandate that PIAC has invited all of us here this morning to launch the 2024 PIAC annual report. Please join me to commend PIAC for the publication of this report as citizens of this country. This is the 14th annual and 27th report in all. That is, if you add the semi-annual reports to this annual report, then PIAC has published 27 reports. Can we give them another round of applause, please? Even though this report, which by statute should have been published by 15th of March, we are in April, but we are not late. We depend on, when I say we, I'm identifying myself with the organization now. They depend a lot on other institutions to provide the necessary information and data that they require to put together the report. Sometimes those information or the pieces of information that they need are not gathered on time. It takes those organizations also some time to also put their reports together and be able to provide the necessary information. So it's a kind of symbiotic arrangement, and we cannot fault them, but it is my hope that in due course of time, PIAC will be able to publish in the required month, which is March, even if it is not on the 15th of March at least. It will be at the end of March, and that will be a big feather in their cap. I'm confident that with hard work and the necessary cooperation of all stakeholders, PIAC will meet this timeline as required by the Act so that the report will serve its purpose of assisting Parliament and the Executive in the oversight and management of petroleum revenues, which will be with us forever. Which will not be with us forever. Petroleum is an asset which will eventually run out. And so that is the reason why it is important that whilst you still have the asset, then you manage it in such a way that every citizen receives the benefit from managing such a resource. For many citizens, industry players, academics, and analysts, PIAC reports have become a reliable source of information and data on Ghana's upstream petroleum sector. And I urge all such persons not only to acquaint themselves with the content of this particular report which is about to be launched, but also to let it empower you to demand accountability from duty bearers to ensure that citizens derive maximum benefits, as I said, from the resource which belongs to all Ghanaians. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I wish to accept this nomination to become the chairman for this occasion, and I call upon all of you to offer me your unwavering support so that the launch of the PIAC 2024 annual report will be a success. I thank you for your kind attention.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give another round of applause to my former boss. My first boss on this committee. I worked under him and learned a lot from him. The way he's speaking, you know that he is a man who lacks no experience. So when you happen to work under him, it's a privilege to just tap into very deep resource of experience. And it is with nostalgia that we also remember the days then. Once again, Major, you are very much appreciated for accepting to chair this morning's launch. Gradually, we have come to more like the climax of the program this morning. We should at least know a bit about what is to be launched. And to present to us the highlights of the 2024 PIAC annual report is Constantine Kujeji, a member representing Christian groups and chair of the committee. He is a lawyer by profession and president of the Western Regional Bar. With an applause, let's welcome the chair of PIAC to present to us highlights of the report.
Thank you, Mr. Coordinator, and good morning to you all, Mr. Chairman, past chairs, members, Nananum, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to stand here to present the highlights of the 2024 PIAC annual report to you. The coordinator took the wind out of my sails. Initially, he said I was nominated by the Catholic Bishops' Conference. So I was going to give a caveat that don't mistake me for a priest. My priests are here. I'm only an ordinary Christian serving in the vineyard of the Lord. But he came out to say I'm a lawyer by profession. Yes, that's where I belong. I litigate. So I'm not a priest. So that's just by the way. Sometimes when you are it is said that you are representing Christian groups, a different impression is given, but I'm not a devil, I'm a Christian, yes. So thank you very much. So we have the outline projected for us. And we have the introduction, which talks about the establishment, the mandate, the membership, and in fact, the reporting mandate, why we are here. And then we move to the key insights, which is the analysis of oil production and sales, the analysis of gas production and sales, sources of petroleum revenue collection and distribution, our observations, findings, and recommendations. So that is the brief outline of the report, of the highlights, sorry. So basically, we have a history to tell as a country. We've been mining minerals several years. The question is, what have we done with our mineral revenue? Is it something that we can account for? Luckily, we were blessed to discover oil, and the question is, should we repeat the same mistakes that we made in terms, or we've made in terms of our mineral revenue? The answer was no. There is a need to put up a system where our petroleum revenues can be managed well and accounted for. And this led to the formulation and promulgation of the Petroleum Revenue Management Act. So this act basically is to ensure the prudent management and use of our petroleum revenues from our oil and gas resources, and to maximize economic development and benefit for future generations. So that is basically the basis for putting the PRMA Act together. And how does PIAC come in? We come in under Section 51 of the Act, and our duty is to ensure that we support the work of Parliament in terms of the collection, allocation, and utilization of Ghana's petroleum revenues. And this we do by ensuring that the Act, in terms of management and collection, use, and utilization of petroleum revenue, is complied with. So we are basically into compliance monitoring. And then we also have to create platform for public debate on the use, management, and utilization of the petroleum funds. The question is, we create this platform for what? And what we do is we give opportunity to citizens or the citizenry to debate whether or not the funds are being used in compliance with the Act. And precisely Section 21 of the Act sets out some areas we call priority areas that these funds must be channeled into. So the question is whether when we get these monies, we use it for that purpose. And that is the platform for public debate. And then we have the third mandate of ensuring an independent assessment on the use. This we do by basically coming out with these reports, and we also engage in project inspections at various regions and districts. And what we do there is to look at projects that are being funded by petroleum revenue to ensure whether it is really in terms of value for money, or it is something that we need to comment on and guide policymakers on the way forward. And we do so by putting them in our report, what we see and what we observe. And in fact, the current report has about, I think the chapter 13 or 12 tells us our activities in terms of this reporting. So the next thing is the membership of PIAC. What makes PIAC, or who makes PIAC? And we have various institutions, our Chamber of Commerce and Industry and Association of Ghana Industries represented. We have the Ghana Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative. We have the Trade Unions Congress. We have civil society organizations and community-based organizations. We have the Ghana Journalists Association. We have the Ghana Bar Association also represented. We have the Institute of Chartered Accountants. We have the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences. We have think tanks. We have the National House of Chiefs and our Queen Mothers who are here with us, and then we have Christian groups and Muslim groups. So that's the constitution of PIAC. It's made up of 13 institutions. And our reporting mandate, basically why we are here, is captured under Section 56 of the Act. And as our chairman rightly pointed out, we are required to publish 2 reports in a year, an annual report and a semi-annual report. The annual report is to be published by 15th March of the following year, and the semi-annual report is to be published by 15th September of that year. And we do so, we have been doing so graciously, and we submit the report. Immediately it is published to the presidency and parliament for policy formulation, and also to guide them where there are lapses, what has to be done to eradicate these lapses. And the report is based on collection of data, collation of the data, and then we reconcile the data as well. So if institution A gives us a data, we need to cross-check with other institutions which should also give us the same data so that we are sure that we are speaking the same voice. And we analyze the data, and we also analyze the revenue data from these stakeholder institutions. And we are talking of the IOC's, International Oil Companies, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Energy, Petroleum Commission, Ghana, National Petroleum Corporation, among other institutions. And this report we are about to launch is the 14th of the annual reports. So we've been publishing the report since 2011. And in terms of the 2, that is the semi-annual and the annual, we have 27 in all. So this is the 14th report, and that takes me to the key insights of the report. So we have before you the 2024 crude oil production in barrels. Our mandate is to monitor compliance on the use of petroleum revenue. And of course, these revenue come from crude oil production and gas production. So last year, 2024, we recorded a total production of 48,240,30.04 barrels of crude oil. Now, where did this come from? We are producing the crude oil from 3 fields: the Jubilee field, the SGN field, and the 10 field. Now, the Jubilee field gave us 66% of the total, which amounts to 31,849.46 million barrels. The SGN field gave us 20% of the total, which is 9,606,544.04 barrels. And then the 10 field, which is the least, gave us 14%, being 6,784,440 barrels. So that is by way of crude oil production. And you'll realize that last year's production is still a decline of the previous years. When I say a decline, that is, we recorded low production as against 2023. But what I can say is that the decline is not too significant. If you look at the chart which has been displayed, we peaked in 2019 with about 71 million barrels. Then we came down to 66 million in 2020. We came down again 55 million thereabout in 2021, We came down again 51 in 2022. Then we came down again to 48,247. So there has been that consistent decline. Now, what we have observed is that last year, yes, there was a decline, but that decline is just about 7,000 barrels. Because if you subtract last year's production, which is 48,240,030, from the previous years, which is 48,247,057, then you are talking of a decline of about 7,000 barrels. So it's not as steep as we recorded in the previous years. It is hoped that the decline is gradually fading, and very soon we may rise up again, God being our help. If we sink further, then we have to know what to do. So that's by way of the analysis here. And then the cumulative production from the time we started producing oil in 2010 to last year, December 2024, is 656.68 million barrels. So we are talking of a period of 14 years and what we have produced. So that's by way of crude oil production for last year. Then we have raw gas production, natural gas production. The total production for 2024 was 280,511.03 standard million cubic feet. So the SGN field gave us 49%. So you realize that whilst under oil it was the second, with gas it is the highest. So it is predominantly a gas field. And then the Jubilee field gave us the second highest in terms of gas, which is 30%, constituting 85,385.05 standard million cubic feet. And then we have the 10 field, which gave us 21%, representing 58,301.02 cubic feet. So that's by way of raw gas or natural gas production. And then we have the cumulative from 2014 to 2024. We started producing gas in 2010, but this has to do with commercialization, what we did with the gas in terms of usage by way of sale and injection and what have you. So the total from 2014 to 2024, we have a figure of 1,774,981.7 million, standard million cubic feet. And then we have categorized them in terms of the fields. Which field gave us what? So the Jubilee field 2024, we have associated gas of 85,385.05 standard million cubic feet. Now, the associated gas basically is gas that is accompanied by oil when you produce the, no, sorry, it's the other way around. When you produce the oil, it comes with gas. So the same thing, the 10 field, and then the SGN field also has 50,173.23. And then the SGN field, being a predominantly gas field, gave us non-associated gas of 86,651.73. So for 2024, we have a total of 281,511.03. So that's the figure we recorded from 2024. I must say that when you do the analysis, you realize that in terms of production of gas, this was slightly higher, and that's about 25% increase in terms of what happened in the previous year, 2023. So the 280 in terms of gas is more as against crude oil, where we had a slight decline. So how did we utilize the gas in 2024? So yes, we exported some, not export in terms of export outside the country, but from the main field to the processing plant and wherever we have to take it for usage. And then we have, and that is about 41% of the total production, and that gives us 115,404.27 standard million cubic feet. Then we have gas that we injected into the wells. We have to sometimes do gas injection so that we can produce more crude oil. Sometimes you can't help with that. So that is what we did, and that is about 44.30. You realize that the gas we injected is more than what we sold. And then we use some for fuel, 4.18. Now we are producing with what we call FPSOs, 3 of them, and these FPSOs need fuel, and we use gas to fuel them. Some of the gas was fled. Let me use a loose word. We threw it away into the atmosphere by way of waste. And that comes to 10.20. So the total of 100%, that is how we utilize the gas in 2024. Now, having said that, now we have to look at the sources of petroleum revenue, the funds that we are required to ensure its prudent management. Where do we get it from? And in 2024, precisely how much did we get, and what are the various sources? So we have the CAPI, which is carried and participating interest. It's like the equity stake of the state of Ghana through GMPC. Anytime we discover oil, Ghana as a country through GMPC has the right to acquire up to 15% interest by way of a carried interest, and then it has the right to acquire more up to 20%. And our stake in terms of oil we get from there, or the cash in terms of the oil equivalent we had from there, is the first item, which is the CAPI. So from the 3 fields, we had a total of 538,337.92 million US dollars. The next is CIT, which is corporate income tax. The oil and gas companies pay corporate income tax after they've declared their profit. Currently, the rate is 35% of their profit. So once they take away their costs of production, whatever is left becomes a profit that they have to pay a percentage, that is 35% of that, to the government. And that accounted a total of 502,873,263.60 million US dollars. So it is, in terms of the figures, the second highest source of revenue, apart from our CAPI. Then we have royalty payments. These are upfront payments on gross production, and once you discover the oil, you are required to pay royalty, which ranges from 4 to 12.5%, depending on the negotiations made. And what we had from royalties is 239,984,190.86 million dollars. And we have the various fields and what each gave us. Then we have we have PHF income. Now, all revenue from our crude oil and natural gas production should be paid into what we call the Petroleum Holding Fund. And this fund, once the monies are paid, generates interest. And therefore, the amount you see there is income by way of interest from the PHF. Then we have surface rentals. our maritime zones are divided into what I usually say plots of land, even though it's the sea. We call them blocks. So you have something like this, and the companies are given this. So it's like taking a parcel of land, and you are required to pay, in loose parlance, ground rent. But in the sea, we call it surface rentals, and that is the income that we had from the rents. So $512,711.08 million. Then we have other income. These are surcharged income that GRA got from some companies that were surcharged for various defaults, and therefore this is 66,902.55. So the total revenue from crude oil in terms of USD is $1,357,793,889.40 for 2024. So that is the total that we had from our petroleum revenues. Now, this is a cumulative chart for the revenue since we started in 2011. And 13 years or 14 years down the line, the cumulative figure is 11.21 billion US dollars. You will realize that the figure in 2024, the 1.357 billion thereabout, is the second highest in the history of the country. The highest was 2022, and that was 1.428 billion. Our understanding is that it is as a result of some fluctuations, then more reckoning of more CIT, corporate income tax, and we are also reliably informed that some companies or company paid AOE, which we call additional oil entitlement, which we are yet to also look at. So that is by way of the figure for 2024. Even though our production declined, on the contrary, the figure was high. So it is not always that you record low production that you get less amount, but sometimes depending on the circumstances, your income can still go up despite the low production. So how are these revenues allocated? And as I said, the PRMA requires that all petroleum revenues due the Republic of Ghana be deposited in the Petroleum Holding Fund. And it is from this fund that the revenue is distributed to various stakeholders or various beneficiaries. So the fund is more of a transit fund. The money gets in there and then it is distributed. And it is distributed this way. A portion goes to what we call the annual budget funding amount, which is an amount used to support the national budget. A portion goes to our national oil company, which is GMPC. And then a portion is also paid into the Ghana Petroleum Funds, which are made up of the GSF, Ghana Stabilization Fund, and the Ghana Heritage Fund. So this is a diagram of how the sources and the distribution is done. So we have on top the sources, royalties, carried and participating interest, corporate income tax, and other receipts. It is paid into the Petroleum Holding Fund. A portion goes to the National Oil Company. A portion goes to the Consolidated Fund. And that is about not less than 70% of the expected revenue, with GMPC 55% of the CAPI. And then we have on your right, and yes, on your right here also, we have the two petroleum funds, that is the Heritage Fund and the Stabilization Fund. The Heritage Fund basically is a fund for the future generation, and the Stabilization Fund is a fund which we can fall on if we are not balancing in terms of our economy. So it's a buffer fund sort of to aid us in our economic development. So that is by way of the allocation of petroleum revenues. Now, how was the distribution done in 2024 from the PHF? So we have GMPC in blue, we have the ABFA in, I don't know which color is that, but brown, deep brown or brown. And then we have the GSF in ash or gray, and then we have the GHF in deep yellow. So the total distribution was 1.36 billion. The annual budget funding amount received, yes, 493, I wanted the percentage, I think that's 36%. So 493,250,729 US dollars. The GSF had 30%, which is 408,972,359 US dollars. Our national oil company received 21%, which is 285,91893.37. And then the Ghana Heritage Fund received 13%, which is 273,868.34 US dollars. So that's by way of the distribution from the PHF. Now, the cumulative distribution from 2011 to 2024 is what we've showed so far, what we've showed now, sorry. And the total distribution as at 2024 is 11,195,886,197.22 US dollars. And the distributions are in the chart. GMPC so far has 3 million US dollars thereabout. The GSF has 2.5 billion thereabout. GMPC's own is 3.094 billion thereabout. And then we have the GHF recording 1,100,000,000 US dollars thereabout. And then we also have the APFA recording 4,405,000,000 thereabout. Now, the law stipulates that there should be at least a minimum balance in the fund, and that balance is the 200,000 US dollars you see up there. So that is by way of cumulative distribution from the ABFA. Now, we are now zeroing in on what the ABFA should be used for. That is an amount that we must use to support our national budget. And the PRMA provides that the use of it must be guided by a medium-term development strategy aligned with long-term national development plan approved by Parliament. And as I speak, we don't have that long-term development plan approved by Parliament. And the law spells out that in the event that there is no such approval, then the Minister for Finance is required to select not more than 4 priority areas listed in the Act. As I said, Section 21 lists some areas we consider as priority areas, such as agri, health, railroads, infrastructure, and industrialization. Now, for the purposes of this report, we are talking about 2024. And the 2024, that is from 2023 to 2025, the priority areas selected were the 4 you see on the screen. Agri, including fisheries, physical infrastructure and service delivery in education and health, roads, rail, and other critical infrastructure, and industrialization. So these are the 4 areas selected by the minister for 2023 to 2025. So ordinarily, then 2024 should capture any of these areas. And this is how it was utilized in 2024. So what was paid into the ABFA, Agric had 7.89%, physical infrastructure and service delivery in education and health had 31.50%, roads, rail, and other infrastructure had 60.49%, and the breakdown is there: road infrastructure 20, rail infrastructure 3.25, other critical infrastructure 37.14. And then, of course, the district assemblies common fund must also get a share, which is 4.62. And then GIF 13.60, Temamoto extension 18.25. Unfortunately, industrialization recorded 0. And then we have the subtotal, and then we have PIAC having 0.12 of the amount paid into the ABFA. So that is the total for the ABFA, and that makes up 100% in terms of the use in Ghana cedis. Even though we receive in dollars, this one, it is disbursed in Ghana cedis, and we must use it in Ghana cedis. Let me add a caveat that come 2025, in our semi-annual report, we may not find PIAC there because there is an amendment which has taken place about 2 or 3 weeks ago, which the provision which gives PIAC's funding under the ABFA, which is section 57.3 of the PRMA Amendment Act, Act 893, I think for now that one is off. It's been repealed. So it is likely that in 2025, our semi-annual report will not capture that. But that's not why we are here. We are dealing with 2024. This is just by way of information. At the appropriate time, we will see. Now, under the priority areas, we are to prioritize industrialization. But PIAC observed that again, in 2024, there is some, I don't want to say, the reluctance to put a lot of money in industrialization. Now, in 2020, we had 31.80 of the ABFA disbursed to industrialization. 2021, 16.26, 2022, 9.29. It kept reducing. And then 2023, we had, I'm reading the cedis instead of the percentages. Yes, but that is about 1.15. That is 31.80 million cedis. And then the following year, it was 0.87. 2022, 0.2. So not even 1%. 2023, 0.11. 2024, 0. So even though we selected it as a priority area, nothing was paid or channeled for purposes of industrialization. And we have made recommendations on that. We think that it's a serious issue that has to be looked at. Because if we want to develop as a country, we cannot proceed this way. So our observations and findings from what we've done so far in terms of the highlights. We've observed that despite efforts by the Ministry of Energy to attract investments in the upstream petroleum industry, there was no petroleum agreement signed in 2024. This is the 5th consecutive year that no petroleum agreement has been signed since 2018. I think the last one that was signed was 2014, because even this 2018 one, there seems not to be any positive developments from that. And then the second observation is that from the analysis we made, there is an increase in the revenue from 1.06 billion thereabout as in 2023 to 1.357 billion thereabout in 2024. And that is an increase of 27.8%. So there is some increment or increase in our revenues, even though we slightly dipped in terms of production. And as we've observed earlier, that is the second highest in terms of petroleum receipts since the beginning of production of crude oil, the highest being 2022. Now, the Ghana Heritage Fund reserves increased by 20.31%. The reserves in the GSF, that is the Ghana Stabilization Fund, also increased by 3.46%, though we withdrew from that. When I say we withdrew, I don't mean PIAC. The government withdrew to do some spending. And the combined effect on the Ghana Petroleum Funds was therefore a reserve increase of 17.71%. That is, in 2023, it was 1.236.76 million, and in 2024, it is 1.455.7 million in 2024. So these are our observations, and our findings are as follows. Crude oil production still declined for the 5th year, albeit not significant. And we made a comparison to 2019, where we had 71.44 barrels, and now it is 48.25 million barrels in a year. And the year-on-year decline of 0.1% and a 5-year average decline of 7.4%. The total proceeds from GNPC's Plocos liftings received in 2024 amounting to 145,681 was $117 million was not paid into the PHF. Now, we've indicated that the law requires that all petroleum revenue should be paid into the PHF. And for some time now, it's been a back and forth between PIAC and GNPC on proceeds from a subsidiary of GNPC, whether or not that amount should be paid into the PHF. PIAC is of the view that that amount should be paid into the PHF. Of course, GNPC is also of the different view that the subsidiary is an independent corporate body, and therefore those funds should not or cannot constitute petroleum revenue required to be paid into the PHF. At the end of the day, if the subsidiary work as an independent company, what they have to do is to pay dividends if they make profit, and not that, and not what PIAC is talking about. But again, PIAC maintains its position. It's been back and forth, and we hope that very soon, maybe, we may have to seek an interpretation of the provision at the relevant courts of law as to whether proceeds of a subsidiary of GNPC, which is the national company, proceeds of lifting of a subsidiary of GNPC, which is a national company, constitute petroleum revenue that should be paid into the PHF. If we're able to resolve it fine. If not, and the issue keeps coming, the only way is to seek an interpretation at the Supreme Court, like what happened in the Podo versus Attorney General case on the issue of the District Assembly's Common Fund. So we realized that over the period, the total amount, originally SPLOCO was JOHL, now it's SPLOCO. The total amount so far is $488 million. As at 2024, that has not been paid into the PHF. I think we have indicated clearly GMPC's argument, and that is the position. Surface rentals by international oil companies remain high on our list. So the arrears as at 2024 is what we've projected there. And about 60% of this are due to 3 companies, or are owed by 3 companies whose agreements were terminated in 2021. I believe GRA are here and they can help us answer some questions on that. Ghana could not recover also make up gas that it paid for, which it had to take from the SGN field. This is gas that we paid for, natural gas, and we're given 5 years to lift. Unfortunately, we couldn't lift for 5 years, so that gas was forfeited. In the experts are here, I stand to be corrected, but in the petroleum industry, you know, we have periods for lifting. So if you have to lift 100,000 barrels of crude oil within 3 months and you don't lift, you forfeit it, it becomes part of the subsequent production of the group, and it can be shared amongst the group. So, as I said, if I'm wrong, correct me. So this is something that happened in terms of gas, and we couldn't lift. And I think basically it is as a result. I'm not holding brief for anybody, but we don't have the needed infrastructure to store some of these gas, because you need to, they are voluminous and you need to have the wherewithal in terms of infrastructure. Our plant at Atwabo cannot. So this is a call on us to expand our gas infrastructure so that we can get more gas off the fields. As I said earlier, there was no allocation for ABFA, and this is something that PIAC is not happy with. It undermines the essence of prioritization as envisaged by the Act as amended by 893. Now, again, the retention of the current cap of 100 million in the GSF. Now, this has been ongoing for some time. LI 2381 of LI 2381, which is the Petroleum Management Revenue Regulations, Regulation 8, tells us how to calculate what should go into the GSF. Now, what we have is a cap of 100 million, and what it means is that any excess is taken by the state or government for spending. Now, if we had used the method as envisaged under the LI, we would have recorded about 517.43 million. The effect is that we are not building the fund enough. So again, it is of worry to PIAC, and we've made recommendations there too in our recommendations. We realize that the 10 field, in terms of what we get by way of revenue, is lower than what we put in. And it is not prudent business if your income is less than your expenditure. So the cost associated with the 10 field is higher in terms of what it gives us. So production, okay, is low. The cost for that for 2024 was 89.44 million US dollars. But what we had in terms of revenue from the 10 field, is 73.91. So there is a loss there. And therefore, there is a need for something to be done by the stakeholders. So one of our recommendations is for an audit of the field so that we can know exactly what to do with that field. There's also some worrying development that we found in respect of GNPC, and I'm happy they are here. They can give us insights on that. Some loan obligations by GNPC are now being transferred to its subsidiary. And this subsidiary is supposed to be the commercial wing of GNPC, and that is Esploco. And the question is whether it is good in terms of sustainability of the corporation to saddle its subsidiary with such loans. And therefore, there is a need for something to be done about that. So these are our key findings, and our recommendations follow from that. So we recommend that Ministry of Energy and its allied agencies increase efforts to secure investments into Ghana's upstream petroleum industry. The committee reiterates its position that proceeds from liftings by GNPC Esploco constitute indirect participation of state and therefore must be paid into the fund. The Act talks about direct and indirect revenue. Okay, so PIAC's position is that if you are a subsidiary of a national company, then obviously you are indirectly participating in the state's petroleum stake, and therefore proceeds must be paid to the fund. The Ghana Revenue Authority, the Petroleum Commission, the Bank of Ghana, and the Ministry of Energy should collaborate to, as it were, recover the surface rentals that are in arrears. You must always be prepared for technological failure. And I'm happy I prepared for that. Government should expedite action to expand its gas infrastructure capacity to take up more gas because of what happened in terms of the failure to lift the makeup gas. Now, our one recommendation is also that in selecting these priority areas, we don't just have to select the priority areas, we must also indicate what exactly we are going to do within these priority areas. It helps us, especially when we go around for our inspections and you have no idea. I wish one of you will one day take us to some of these inspections. Sometimes you get there and it's sad. And going forward, we will also recommend probably that PIAC should be part of the selection process. Government should determine specific programs for implementation over the course of priority areas within that priority areas. Parliament should ensure that Ministry of Finance complies with Regulation 8 of LI 2381 in setting the cap on the GSF, or possibly have an upward review of the current cap of $100 million US. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of my presentation, and I thank you all for your attention. Thank you.
Another round of applause for this is like Petroleum 202 lecture, and not all of us appreciate this as much. It's a very technical area, and To communicate it is another onerous task. So if you happen to be a PIAC chair, whether you like it or not, at some point you would have to stand before people who deal in these things on daily basis, and you are telling them what they so much know. And sometimes it can be a very difficult position to be in, purporting to be teaching an expert what he's an expert in. It's interesting. But this is good presentation that the PIAC chair has made. Before we go to the next session, let's acknowledge our media partners. GTV, busily working. Let's see you with your cameras. We are working with the team. Thank you. UTV, thank you, UTV. Graphic, your report, let it graphically describe what's happening here. Ghanaian Times. Okay. Metro Television, Business and Financial Times, Ghana Television. I think the others have been acknowledged. Asase Radio, Television 3, TV3, you are acknowledged. Thank you very much. So, as the presentation was going on, you may have had a point where you would have loved to ask a question or made a comment or said something that would enrich the discussion. So it is now time for Q&A or an open forum. Before we go into it, let me acknowledge the president of the Ghana Journalists Association here, Mr. Edwin Ford. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. President. So to moderate this session, we have a member of the Public Interest and Accountability Committee representing the Trades Union Congress, Ms. Frida Stephanie Frimpong. Respectfully, we invite you to moderate the session. Please, let's welcome her.
Hello. Hello. Yes, this is the time we want to look at what we have used our monies for. And somebody, or in the local dialect, they will say Nesikane way. So we want to really look into the report and see what should be the way forward. I believe we are all okay with the temperature and everything. Housekeeping, if you want to see our ladies at the back, you can, if you are in need of anything. So please, let's go into business. The report touched on the introduction, which gave the membership of the institution as PIAC. The establishment, the membership, the mandate, and what have you. And also talked about the production and the revenue and allocation and all that. So there's a lot that we have taken. What do you have to say? Do you have any concerns, any suggestions? I will do it row by row. So I think that we'll take three, yes, if we can take the two or so microphones around so that we have 30 minutes to do that. I've seen Reverend's hand up there. Please, you can mention your name, your institution, for us to acknowledge you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm Reverend Amuzu of the Christian Council of Ghana. Tama, thank you for the eloquent presentation. So since 2011, we have been presenting reports, both the semi-annual and the annual reports, altogether 27. And I believe that from that 2011, every year we have dozens upon dozens of recommendations. Analyzing these recommendations in terms of percentage, how many of these recommendations have been applied or adhered to in terms of percentage. 2, the report clearly stated that there's been a decline in industrialization. For the past 8 years, one of the key policies of the SWAL government is industrialization. 1 district, 1 factory, 1 this, 1 that. Have you had engagements with the government that is passed to find out why decline? Because to the extent that it came to 0 in last year, that is very, very bad. Then the report also mentioned the termination of 3 petroleum agreements. Were you able to interrogate the matter to know why those agreements were cancelled? Because it came at a huge cost to the Ghanaian people. And the last one, investment in infrastructure. The volume of gas that is flared is so huge. And I don't know what you have found, why our inability to invest in something God has given us so that we can make the most optimal use of it. And we have to just flare it, just waste it. What is the reason? Thank you.
Thank you. Please, any more question? Do we have? Hello? Yes. Let me say that the presenter, our chairperson, we have our technical manager here and members here to respond to the issues. All right.
Hello.
Thank you.
My name is Samuel Harrison Kujo. I am a programs officer with the Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition. I wanted to find out if you invited the chief directors or the ministers from the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Energy, Ministry of Roads, and the Ministry of Agric. If you invited them, and I want to know whether they are here with us, because I think that if we actually delve into the conversations, there are questions that PIAC cannot answer. They would have to come and answer some of these questions. So please let us know if you invited them, and if they are here, then we can carry on from there. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I believe we did. Our coordinator, who is the head of the secretariat, would attest to that. So maybe he would give more information about that. Please, any other person, any more issues? Are we picking only 2 issues from the whole presentation? The allocation, the revenue, and the reserves, the decline? Dr. Mantiao, please, you may take the floor.
I don't know if GRA is here, but I find it curious that loan liabilities and obligations of one corporate entity will be transferred to another corporate entity. Sounds to me that it infringes on our ring fencing rules. So I want to call the attention of GRA to that. Our laws do not allow the transfer of cost from one project or one corporate entity to another entity. And so let's watch this. And I want PIAC to also follow up this with the GRA. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Then we'll let our chair react to the issues now.
Thank you very much. In terms of percentage of our recommendations, in fact, this report captures it, and that's about 33% of our recommendations have been implemented. Yeah, we have over 100 of them, and the report captures, these are highlights, but the detailed report tells how many, or in terms of percentage, what has been captured, what has been implemented. The other thing about the industrialization, we did not say industrialization declined. What we said is the revenue, the portion of ABFA that should go to industrialization is 0 for 2024. So all those projects may have been funded by loans, grants, and what have you, but for purposes of petroleum revenue, what should go there was 0. There was a third question, moderator. There was a third one, flaring. Ghana Gas, Talo, yes, can you answer why we flare? I don't want to guess, but I know you can answer, yes.
Okay, right, thank you so much. So one, we don't flare on our own. We seek permission from the Minister of Energy, PC, and EPA. And they nominate how much should be flared. Now, let me give the reasons why we flared. When we started production, Ghana Gas wasn't ready. And so we were injecting gas into the wells over a period of time. Now, technically, that weakens the well. So it affects production. Now, when GPP was ready, we started exporting. But you see, it hurt us over time. Now, it got to a point where we are unable to export all the gas. We need to inject to be able to support production. Otherwise, the figures we see here will be declining figures. So in order to support the wells, to produce at a certain level, we're required to inject gas into the wells to support production. And we couldn't do that on our own. So we actually went to the Minister of Energy, with his technical team, explained everything to them. We got its approval. PC made a recommendation, and EPA granted the permit. But even that, the state nominates the limit. You can't go beyond it. You can't go beyond it. So the flaring was basically to support production. Otherwise, the oil figures we see here be far lower than what we are having now. So it's basically to support, it's not a waste, it's just to support oil production. I hope that makes it clear. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I wouldn't have said it, better. Yes. The other one, the last question was about petroleum agreement as to whether it came with costs. Yes. From the presentation, unless I don't see, okay. Madam, may I know? Good. PC, excellent. Come to my aid, please.
Good
yes,
morning.
Good morning.
So with the termination, I think the minister terminated 4 PAs. Yes, and with the 4, we noted that they were not executing their minimum work obligation. Also, they were not paying their surface rental, training fees, technology support. Like nothing was happening on those blocks. And we also noted that those companies did not have any office in Ghana. So we will write to them, GRA, PC, but we couldn't reach out to them. So the minister, in order for the country to cut its losses, terminated the agreement. So before those agreements were terminated, they had accumulated unpaid surface rental to that amount. So it actually didn't come at a cost to us. We rather cut back on the losses we are making. And after those petroleum agreements were cancelled, now those blocks are available for viewing. We've been marketing them because we want serious investors to take up the blocks now. So that is the status of it. GRA, together with us, we've been following up on those companies, and for the past 4 years.
Okay, then, thank you.
Has been signed. With the availability of the blocks you spoke about, is it that companies have not come, or there is a kind of a policy?
Institutions that provide information, data to it, to enable it put the reports together, are to be invited to the launch. So Ministry of Energy, Ministry of Finance, they were all invited. The committee does not necessarily invite the chief director. It invites the ministry as an institution, and the ministry reserves the absolute right to determine who represents them. And the expectation is that whoever comes is in the ministry, and also carry messages to the ministry, to the point that the ministry takes it that a senior official has brought messages from PIAC to it. So that's the understanding we have here.
So I think.
Sorry. Oh, I had raised my hand, yes.
Sorry.
So a follow-up to the lady. The 4 companies, I want to get some clarification. So do they owe Ghana surface rental?
Yeah, we pay the reports.
And if they do, are we, by cancelling those 4 agreements, we have dashed them the surface rental? Because if I don't pay my tax, GRA would run after me. They would paste my company's name out there that we are evading tax and all of that. But we have given 4 companies who we said don't have offices here in Ghana, and they have gone away with our surface rental. We say they have vanished into thin air. Please, maybe I don't understand. She should explain so that whether we are going to get those surface rentals or we have dashed them, then we know. Otherwise, this country, let's close it and everybody should go home. This country.
Mr. Chair. Okay.
So, point of information. Of the 4 companies, 1 paid its indebtedness and more like they met their obligation and they are out. So if you saw in the presentation, the chairman referred to 3 of the 4. I think an amnesty was given by government that if you were able to pay your taxes within a certain time, the charges and the fees would be waived. 1 of the 4 took advantage of that and paid. So it's 3 of the 4. Yes.
All right. And the lawyers are here. I believe that these companies, Mr. Chair, these companies, they have their addresses and their location. So that partnership, even though we've severed it and they are gone, it isn't like we can't find them in this world. That's my basic understanding. Lawyer is here. Okay. But they will come back to that issue. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. I just need some, probably you have to elaborate on a point. I think your findings number 3, which is related to the same subject matter, surface rental. I mean, our industry is a nascent one, and so the word IOC is synonymous to the guys at the forefront. So when you put it out there that IOCs don't pay surface rental, I won't fault the media if they put it on front page and say IOCs are not paying surface rental, and you refer to Cosmos, Talo, ENI, the good boys who are paying the surface rental. So if you can provide some clarification on that, it will be helpful. Because if we say IOCs, it's synonymous to the ones we know.
All right. All right.
Thank you very much. Maybe that's too generalistic, but obviously it doesn't include Talo Cosmos. And so we'll clarify that. As he said, these are companies whose agreements were terminated. Your agreement has not been terminated. You are still working. Yes, so we will rectify the situation. So please, we have some good boys, and they are still with us. The bad ones have left. Let me say that, it's unfortunate that we have this situation, but I believe we should maybe find a way of, these companies are international companies with embassies. We should find a way of tracing their whereabouts. We have reciprocity. We may be lucky to have reciprocity agreements in terms of enforcement of judgment against them. So if the company is from US, Ghana and US have, what do you call it? You can enforce judgments in US. They can also enforce judgments here. So GRA, maybe we have to, you want to say something? Yeah, maybe we have to think of that. Okay, yes. This is free legal advice. But don't come to me.
So thank you so much. It's very, what you are saying is actually right. So probably we will take it from here, and then we see what we can do to recover the debt. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Please, okay, we have Dr. Mantia's hand up.
Yeah, just a small one, because I don't get the sense that Reverend's question about declining production and the fact that 5 years, no new agreement has been answered. But I think PIAC organized a big event,
yes,
to go into this matter.
Yeah.
And the event diagnosed some of the reasons. I think sharing them here will be useful.
Thank you very much. I will do. In fact, maybe you heard what myself and coordinator was saying. My plan was to tell members, the gathering, what PIAC did. In fact, in November, precisely November 15th and 16th, when we realized the decline from 2019, we organized a technical consultative workshop on the declining crude oil. At that time, I was in the chair. I was the chair of the technical subcommittee. So we had a very successful workshop. We came out with the problems. We came out with recommendations. We actually presented a paper to the presidency. We met the then president, gave a paper to him on what we found and the recommendations. In fact, the Ministry of Energy was present, the Ghana National Petroleum Company was present. So that is what PIAC did. And we are still following up. There is a new government, so there is the need for us to also put this before the government. And we want to do another workshop on gas, because the situation we found is that we are not able to take the gas, the raw gas, to the relevant, facilities. And we have more gas there. So if we expand our gas infrastructure, we can easily transport the gas from wherever. So we also want to do something as a follow-up from what we did with crude oil in gas. So that is what we've done. What we have to do is to push, in fact, the issues about investment in the upstream oil and gas industry came on board. Now, we are also faced with energy transition issues, but I personally feel that you cannot do away with fossil fuels, and we should not be so inclined about energy transition is good, but we still have to push for the, what do we call it, the crude oil and gas production. So we'll do the necessary follow-ups with the government on the fallout from our technical consultative workshop. Thank you. And I believe GMPC, you are here. You know what happened. Excellent. They are here, so they know what happened. So we hope that we'll get something good from that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you arrested?
Let's address the problem. Ghana is not an attractive investment destination, and that is why we've not signed any new contract. Every now and then, we are at international arbitration against one IOC or the other. Two, if you look at our fiscal regime, we need to do something about it. Three, in fact, if you do a cost-benefit analysis of our road shows, somebody owes us money. Because we know very well when ExxonMobil was hesitant, they said our block sizes are too small, data quality too poor. What have we done about it? And then we take money, go around the world looking for investors, wasting the money. They won't come. Let's stay at home and fix the problems. So, Reverend, there is a reason why we are not attracting. Look, ENI, they made a discovery in Ghana before they made another discovery in Côte d'Ivoire. Now they are producing in Côte d'Ivoire. We are now developing. You see the point? We chased their CEO to Côte d'Ivoire. He had to run away. They had to smuggle him across the borders. And then he moved camp to Côte d'Ivoire. Where do you think his priority in terms of investments would be? Please, let's face it. We are not projecting this country very well to international investors. Look at what was happening at Damai.
Thank you very much for...
Hitting the nail.
Yes.
That's Dr. Mantia. Thank you. Some issues have been raised. I think those joining us online. Mr. Chair. Okay.
Yes. I and my brother, Dr. Mantia, we always, it sounds like we are stirring the honest. But the right thing must be done. Simple. The right thing, people know the right thing. It's like you want it to be said in a very hard way before you do it. That's not good enough. That's what Dr. Mantiao and I most of the time are trying to say. I was actually also going to ask the seismic data. We were told that at that technical workshop, it came out quite clearly that there's a lot of improvement that needs to be done. I don't know whether GMPC, if you are here, whether you can tell us something very small about that aspect of it, whether there's any improvement since that time, or there's any effort being made to improve. Because without that data, no investor will come. Originally, that was what the investors followed up and came and found the oil. Now we have sat back, and the improvement that needs to be done in collecting better, if you like, better and further, and like you always say, further and better particulars. That is not being done. So, GMPC, are you here? Can you tell us something?
Okay.
So, Petroleum Commission, can you, but who are the ones who do, okay.
So the Osu Petroleum Commission, what happens with our data is that it has to be, we're in a partnership with private institutions, international ones, who would do this, gather the seismic data, and then make it available to us as a country. Then when foreigners come to view or access the data, they make payments for it. It is available in 2D and for some of the fields in 3D, but countries are going beyond 3D to 4D, and if we have the resources, we'll be able to do some more. So two means by which we'll get the data. The foreign companies come, PGS and others would come and carry out the seismic research and then make it available for us. Otherwise, we'd have to do it ourselves. Then there's the onshore and the offshore aspects of it that has to be done too. So it's all work in progress, and we're working on it. Yeah.
The condition, President, he said, if we get more resources. Okay, please, some people are online participating in the program, and I think they have raised issues, but one of them is already resolved on the issue of the agreements. But let me just acknowledge that we are also with them, the Albert Kuzo, my joy online. He asked of why the agreements have not been signed, and I think the issues have just been dealt with. And then there's also another one who is also asking what actually accounted for the high corporate corporate tax, despite the decline in production. Would have to resolve, or maybe, yeah, we'll get back to him on that, why the corporate income tax actually improved if there is actually a decline. Any other, because we are far behind time. We're supposed to close at 12, and it's past 12, so I think that might be the last person. Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. Just want to find out what it would take PIAC to seek interpretation in respect of the Jubilee oil holding issue, because you always recommend that you disagree with, that you consider that amount to be, the lifting to be a petroleum revenue. You recommend, and the government also has a different view. So what's the way out? How will you go about triggering an understanding of it, so that maybe, he mentioned if they will seek interpretation as the Supreme Court, so when is that going to be triggered? Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Chair and our chair, please, this will be the last issues.
Thank you very much. Very interesting and on point. We cannot go to court as PIAC. That's one thing. So one of our constituent bodies, so the GBA, for instance, can take them out. DJ can, Christian groups can, but Christian groups, I cannot, because I'll be suing myself. I'll be a plaintiff, more or less, but so that is the situation we find ourselves. Or an individual can, like the PODO versus Attorney General. But as a statutory body, the AGs could sue for us, but I doubt, no, I mean, yes, to seek interpretation, anybody. Sorry. Advice, yes, but then if somebody should sue now, it's the AG that will defend. But that, exactly, that the AG then, yes, I remember, said that the AG in effect supported GMPC's position, and PIAC said, no, we don't agree with the AG's advice. We also have lawyers. So that is it. But we will be happy if this matter is resolved, because it keeps coming up, and for me, I think the best way is to seek an interpretation on it at the Supreme Court. So we will welcome volunteers who will do that.
The issue of the income tax, whether or not the Are there companies investing? Why are we?
What accounted for the high corporate income tax despite a decline in crude oil? Okay. And then are the partners doing additional business? Would they pay taxes on them? No. Let me say that Dr. Mantiel made the point of ring fencing. Petroleum revenue is petroleum revenue. You don't bring other income by way of tax and pay. But you see, your income or by your corporate tax can go up if the prices in the world market is good. If you have also minimized your costs. For instance, if you have what we call capital allowance, you have capital expenditure, you bought a rig of $1 million or something in that tune, which is a capital expenditure, and you are recouping the costs, it invariably affects your profit. Within our laws, you have 5 years to recoup such capital expenditure, 20% every year. So if after 5 years you have recouped, then monies that you could have used, to pay for that cost becomes profit. And therefore, you have more profit to pay more tax to the government. So that accounts for that. And in this case, we are reliably, in fact, our reports show that it's as a result of good corporate tax payment. And we also know there is what we call additional oil entitlement. Our petroleum agreements provide for that. And this is a kind of windfall tax. If you make so much profit, then the government has to get a share of that profit after your normal 35%. And we are told that some IOCs, some good boys, do you like that? Some good boys paid AOE, additional oil entitlement, which that is second half of the year, which led to that. So the good boys should continue paying. We are going to rectify, but I have rectified it. So don't worry, we will make sure the good boys are protected. Thank you very much.
So we can give a round of applause to Ms. Frida Stephanie Frimpong. We are gradually coming to the end of the program. And at this point, I would like to invite the chair of this occasion, Major Daniela Blokwaku, supported by the chair of PIAC and maybe one of our queen mothers, to launch the 2024 PIAC annual report. So I would have them come, and one of the queen mothers, our mothers, would come and support them too.
Okay. So, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, after listening to the highlights and the explanations that have been given, we hereby launch the PIAC report for 2024. Thank you very much. Chairman and members of PIAC, invited guests, various representatives of organizations that are here. It's been a very interesting morning and afternoon. And I want to thank all of you, even though an appropriate portion of the program will be devoted to thanks. But on my behalf, as the chairman for the occasion, I want to thank all of you for your patience. The program started a little late, but we've all had the patience to wait and participate very actively, and I'm very glad for that. We have had a very elaborate presentation. Sometimes PIAC reports, because it contains so many technical details and money, it is difficult really to take home something. But I believe and I'm hoping that most of us have taken home something. What I will want to say is that the PIAC should try and make the outcome of the technical meetings that we have, the workshop, it should be part of your ears, so that everybody will have access to, because when you say that these are the problems, they are being addressed, what have been the outcomes? We need to know so that we follow them up. Institutions that have responsibilities, especially Petroleum Commission, GNPC, Ministry of Finance, Bank of Ghana, we don't have to wait till another report, as the gentleman said, what has been the outcomes of the recommendations? Do we need to wait till another report comes to say, we mentioned this, nothing has been done? Please, let's move forward. Only 33% of the recommendations are so far been implemented. I hope that by the time the next report is presented, it will climb to 66% or more. So on that note, we didn't hear too much of the use of ABFA. I believe that that has been taken care of in the details in the report. So on that note, I want to say a big thank you for your cooperation during this part of this launch of the PIAC report for 2024. Thank you very much.
All right, so very soon we are coming to the end of the launch of the 2024 PIAC annual report. To have a true representation in pictures of what has taken place today, we respectfully would request that when we finish, we'll take a group photograph here or a good number, so that even without words, when you look at the pictures, you have an idea, those who attended. So we make this request. The Queen Mother, who graciously came and supported the launch, is Mama Sename III, Vice President of the Volta Regional Queen Mothers Association, and also the Paramount Queen Mother for the Mafi traditional area. That's Mama Sename III. We can give her a round of applause for the support. We also have Mamaga Agunkosua the Fifth, Paramount Queen Mother of Logba. Okay, Logba. Then we have Nana Apia Sapoma Kumankuma the First, Achim Jinase Queen Mother. We can acknowledge our Queen Mothers. So once again, the Public Interest and Accountability Committee is most grateful to you for for spending a good part of your day with us to outdoor the 2024 annual report. Once again, we request at the end of the prayer, please make your way to the dais and let's take a group photograph. We shall take a Christian prayer to end, and I invite any Christian, I think we have a reverend minister and even fathers here, so any of them led to come and pray to bring proceedings to an end. It's difficult for me to choose, so yes, so I think we didn't introduce Dr. Steve Mantiao, a former chair of PIAC for 2 years, 2018-2019, on Gaiety. It's a voice you won't miss in Ghana's extractive discussion. We thank you for making time to come, Dr. Mantiao. Very grateful. Yeah, so. Yeah.
Let us kindly rise and pray. Let us pray. Almighty God, we thank you for the success of the official launch of the 2024 PIAC report. We thank you for the diligent work done by the committee on behalf of the people of Ghana. We pray, O Lord, that the findings and their corresponding recommendations will be given very good attention so that the good work done will not be in vain. We pray, O God, that all key stakeholders in this petroleum sector will continue to work collaboratively to push the sector forward for the ultimate benefit of this country of ours. As we disperse from here, we are not dispersing from your grace. Let your grace continue to abound unto our nation. Let our leaders do the right things that will move our nation forward so that even the least of our Ghanaian people will benefit from the blessings you have given us. We pray that, Lord, you help the new government to collaborate with this committee and all other relevant committees and agencies working in the interest of the state, so that together we can build a strong nation where none will lack the blessings that you have bestowed upon us. We make this prayer through Christ our Lord, who lives and reigns with you, the unity of the Holy Spirit, one God, forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you. So we can make our way to the dais. Chairs will be arranged. We can all be seated. Once again, thank you, thank you, thank you. Group photograph, it's taking place now. We can be seated down here, and then the group photograph can be done. We just spoke about it. So thank you very much, stakeholders, for coming. Thank you very much, partners. Thank you for the date.